Well, from Los Angeles, I'm joined by Michael Preissner, Iraq war veteran. Welcome to the program, sir. As a war veteran, what's your reaction to this court ruling?
Well, I think to many this ruling, especially to the Iraqi people, probably comes at a big surprise because this was one of the most famous war crimes of the war, one of the most famous atrocities, and what is undeniably an act of murder, an act of terrorism against innocent people. But for me, I'm not surprised, and I don't think people are surprised who recognize the colonial and imperial nature of the U.S. war machine. I mean, how classic is it that an aggressor, a foreign aggressor, an invading army, bombs and invades in an unprovoked war of aggression an oppressed country, and then those soldiers, those occupying, invading soldiers, are allowed to just run around the country, killing people at will and committing atrocities, and then for some reason those things aren't considered crimes, and that's because the U.S. government doesn't consider the victims people and doesn't consider them human.
And what do you think the case would be if it were the other way around, an Iraqi killing 24 U.S. servicemen?
They would likely be executed. And if that Marine, the act that he committed in Iraq, if he committed that in the United States, if he walked down a street in the United States in retaliation to somebody attacking him and then randomly murdered women and children in their beds, executed them, then he would get the death penalty here in the United States. I mean, I think we need to be clear about what happened here. And I think for the public record shows what happened. I mean, these Marines decided in a premeditated way that the next time they got hit, led by this Marine who was the main culprit in the case, when next time they got hit, they were going to murder innocent people in an act of retaliation. When they were hit this time, they walked through houses, they pulled women and children out of their beds, they put a gun to the back of their heads, and they shot them in the head and made sure that all of them were dead. I mean, this is a great crime. This is an atrocity. And I think the fact that these people got no jail time and in fact aren't even kicked out of the military is a total mockery of Iraqi life. And it exposes completely the racism associated with this war and the lie that this war has anything to do with helping the Iraqi people. I think if justice were to really be done, that these Marines who took part in this act should be in Iraq and be tried by Iraqis in Iraqi court, and not just these Marines who committed this act, the other culprits of war crimes and atrocities in Iraq. The politicians and the generals, they too committed atrocities. They too committed war crimes that's resulted in over 1.3 dead innocent people in that country.
Indeed. Now, with regards to this case and adding to that the Abu Ghraib prison scandal, in general, what legacy has the U.S. left behind in Iraq, and adding to that, Afghanistan?
Well, I don't think you can really overstate the death and destruction and the ashes and rubble that is now what was once a beautiful, modern and ascending country in the world. Iraq today is in shambles, and I don't think any Iraqi in the entire country will tell you that the U.S. occupation and the war did anything good for them. And it's going to be many, many years before the people can begin to rise from the ashes of the great crime that was done to them. And I think just looking at that, as a microcosm of U.S. foreign policy, and looking, just not too far away in Afghanistan, where these Marines that committed this act in Haditha, they will go to Afghanistan as U.S. Marines because the U.S. military doesn't think that people who committed this act are unfit for service in Afghanistan. They will go there. I think it shows quite clearly there's a laundry list of massacres and war crimes in addition to the big crime itself, which is these wars in general, which should never be going on at all. But I think this shows quite clearly, and someone as a veteran, someone who saw and witnessed the suffering of the Iraqi people, and like so many just like me who went there and saw the suffering of the people that were sent to occupy, that's what turned me against the war. That's what caused countless others like me, soldiers in uniform, to turn against the war. And that's what turned the people of those countries into rebellion against the occupation. Because the reality is these are colonial wars. These are wars for empire, and the reality on the ground is a catastrophe for the people there, which is why so many people have turned against it.
All right, on that note, I'm sorry we have to leave it there. Michael Preissner, Iraq war veteran, thanks for your time there, sir.